大家好，欢迎到我的坏脚，我叫阿德。Hello everyone, my name is Ada and welcome to my Chinese corner. In this video, I will give you 5 reasons why you should learn traditional characters instead of simplified characters. Now, to begin with, the terms traditional and simplified are very deceptive. They make it sound as if the simplified are better than the traditional. Who wants to learn those old, musty, traditional, old world characters? Let's try the simple way. Who wants to make things difficult for themselves? And that is what I mean by deception, because traditional characters are not more difficult. In fact, they are easier than the simplified. Although the simplified characters have less strokes than the traditional characters, they are easier to remember. But we'll get into that in this video. I think the term full characters is better suited to describe the traditional characters, because they still have their original form. And the simplified characters just simply look as if they blindfolded some toddlers, gave them an eraser and said, go have fun. Here are some characters, erase what you want. It is totally at random lots of times. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't learn simplified characters. I mean, you should, because they are used in China and outside of China, in Hong Kong and in Taiwan, they still use the traditional characters. So traditional characters also have their value and their place. They're used in countries that you might visit, or people that you might meet, or emails from people from those countries that you might read. So it's not like you have English and German and French, and then you have Latin, because Latin is a dead language. Latin is only used for medical terms and scientific terms, but actually traditional characters are still used to this date. So learn simplified characters by all means, but learn the traditional characters first. And here in this video, I will give you 5 reasons why that is. The first reason is maybe a bit of a gripe against simplified characters, because simplified characters simply don't make sense. Look at these characters. Look at the character for leaf. Yeah. Okay. The traditional form and the simplified form. You can see that they've chosen to go a totally different route with it. A mouth and a 10. Okay, I don't really understand the logic, but at least it's simpler to remember, right? Now, as you might know, that elements from one character are also present in other characters. Let's take a character that has the element of leaf, of ye in it. Die, a plate, small plate. Now this is the traditional form. Now look at the simplified form. Hey, there is no simplified form for that. But on the right side, you see yeah. So why is it that the character ye, which has less strokes than the character die for plate, is simplified and die isn't? That's what I said. It makes no sense. It seems as if they had a plan to simplify the characters, and they just randomly picked some characters, started erasing some strokes, and said, okay, here you are, here's the plan. Maybe they're on a deadline, and they just mucked it up. Reason number 2. Learning traditional characters strengthens your knowledge of the Chinese language and culture. In mastering anything, there are no shortcuts, and especially in languages. The strokes of a character, the number of strokes, and the order in which to write them are all an integral part of the Chinese language, and they are engineered to help you with your muscle memory. Of course, in the beginning, when you write a character like "tre," you write like this, and you do some air writing like this. You practice, and then one more time. This is the traditional form. And then, after practicing a while, as with your own language, maybe English or German or French or any other language, and when you first started writing maybe cursive or another form, it goes very slowly. But after a while, you know how to write, and it goes much smoother. So, same thing, you go. Because you have your muscle memory. And simplified characters don't have that. It is not always possible to do that, to do everything in one smooth go. Because one stroke transitions into another and another and another and another until the character is finished. I'm just air writing some characters here. It's a bit like martial arts. First you learn your techniques separately, your low blocks, your punches, your kicks, your high blocks, your throws, your locks, whatever. And once you progress, one technique all transitions into another technique during a sparring match or an actual fight. And again, with simplified characters, it's simply not possible to accomplish this. Not always. Furthermore, Chinese characters represent a thought or a concept in Chinese culture. And by taking away many of the strokes and leaving only a few strokes, or as we saw, completely changing the characters, elements of the character that becomes a different character, you are robbing yourself of the chance to immerse yourself into Chinese thought and Chinese culture. And you're also robbing yourself of the chance to admire the beauty that is the Chinese language, and especially the written language. So by learning traditional characters, you will have a broader understanding of Chinese culture and Chinese thought. Reason number 3. Chinese characters can confuse you. There is a reason why traditional characters exist. As new things are invented, people discover new things, new words are added to a language. Now, Chinese has a limited number of syllables. Every character has one syllable with a tone. So the pronunciation can be exhausted very quickly. Now, how can you show the difference between two words that sound the same? It's in the written language. The sound is the same, the meaning is different, so you write it 2 different ways. But not with simplified characters. Look at these ones. Chong means to rush. Another character, also chong, but a different traditional character, means to flush, like flush the toilet. But they all have the same simplified character. So, of course, you can guess the meaning of the character, but you have to look at the context. You have to look at the other words around it in the sentence, or maybe what the story is about. If people are telling about going to the toilet, of course, you know, okay, then they mean this. That is the meaning of that character. And if it's a story about soldiers rushing a castle, of course, they will use the other character. In traditional Chinese, they will use the other characters. In simplified Chinese, they will use the same character. Also, chong. So, with traditional characters, you can spot the difference right away. And simplified characters, they might confuse you. Reason number 4. Simplified characters miss important elements, the radicals. Now, what is a radical in Chinese language? Chinese likes to sort words into groups, and a radical signifies which group that word belongs to. It is also helpful in a dictionary because a Chinese dictionary, things are ordered according to the radicals. Things that have to do with fire, like cooking, have the fire radical. Things that have to do with water have the water radical. Words that are related to nature and plants, they have the grass radical. Usually that grass radical is on the top of the character. And in simplified Chinese, lots of times they leave out these radicals because they were just erasing strokes, and some of the strokes just happen to be part of that radical. Take the word for love. Chinese love is ai, 4-tone, ai. In traditional Chinese, you can see it is written with a heart inside. In simplified Chinese, the heart is left out. How can you have love without your heart? Impossible. But in simplified Chinese, it is. And just look at the characters for dragon. The traditional and the simplified form. My xin cries. And reason number 5 is there are more traditional characters than simplified characters. Chinese has evolved over thousands of years, and characters that only had a few strokes a long time ago were changed and strokes were added because they needed more words, as words were added to the language, as I explained in reason number 3. So if you want to learn Chinese, then you are already learning traditional characters. And there's only a limited amount of simplified characters. And so why not learn all the traditional characters first, and later on it's easier to just learn the simplified form, because you still have to learn the traditional characters as they are used in other countries besides China. Now, why do we have simplified characters? Well, a lot of people falsely explain that it was because Mao and the Communist Party wanted to combat illiteracy in China. In fact, it was because they wanted to get rid of everything that was traditional. I usually don't go into politics in my videos. I leave that to the politicians. But this is a part of history. It will help you understand why there's such a difference. It's because the nationalists flee to Taiwan. Mao had China. So two countries were established. You had Taiwan and you had China. And they wanted to do something different. That was completely opposite of what the nationalists were still doing. So the nationalists were still using the traditional characters and traditional Chinese culture. And in China, they said, we are going to do things completely different. They did the same with Chinese martial arts, sometimes referred to as Kung Fu. And it looks more like acrobatics now. That is because they didn't want the old traditional way of fighting. So it became more of an art, a dance. And they did the same with the Chinese language. So traditional, old was not good, it had to be modern, new. At one time, there were even plans to get rid of all the characters, to be done with it, and only use the romanization, or what we call pinyin, so writing out the pronunciation. And luckily, that plan was thrown out. So it seems as if they had a plan to change the written language, but how they worked out the plan and the implementation left a lot to be desired. Traditional characters are essential to mastering Mandarin Chinese. If someone says, I know Chinese, and after asking you find out that they only know how to read and write simplified characters, and sometimes they don't even know how to write characters, well, those people are not lying, but they are telling a half-truth. If you do not know how to write by hand, so not with a computer keyboard or a phone keyboard, traditional characters, then you cannot claim that your Chinese is perfect. I know this is difficult for some people to hear, but it's the truth. Your Chinese will always be missing a part. So my advice for learning Chinese is to learn traditional characters first, and afterwards learn the simplified characters, as there are not many simplified characters and it's easier to learn, and it'll be worth it. You'll have your muscle memory, your writing will improve, you'll write a lot quicker, you'll memorize the words a lot quicker, and you can then, of course, use those characters in the real world more easily and a lot quicker. So go out, practice your writing, and 继续加油!